We're reporting live from Neville Arena, Auburn Daily Show. It's your host Alex, co-host Andrew Stefaniak, and we're gonna be honest, the show last night from the Jungle Campout was a lot more exciting. Auburn loses what felt just like a pretty rough game. Nothing really went Auburn's way for the majority of that. Auburn, I don't think, had a lead at any point this game.
No, they didn't lead at any point.
This has got to be, I don't have the stat in front of me, this has got to be a pretty close to, if not a season low, scoring at home. If you had told me that Auburn, this was Vegas, and I think a lot of other outlets thought you'd look at the matchup, this should have been a pretty high scoring game.
Yeah.
And overall, I mean, to keep Auburn under 60, I think you got to kind of cut down the line to how much of that was credit to Kentucky and how much of that was Auburn playing really poorly from a shooting standpoint.
Yeah, I mean, listen, Auburn had open looks. They did. I mean, I counted at least 5 or 6. And when I say open, I'm talking wide open threes that didn't go down. You know, to beat a Kentucky basketball team that, you know, here's the deal. I think Auburn was the better team going in. I still think Auburn's the better team. Now, obviously, we're going to have to talk about some potential injury concerns. But, you know, you had to shoot the ball well if you're Auburn. You have to make open looks. I don't care who you're playing. Especially in your home arena here, the atmosphere is great. You have to make open shots, and Auburn did in this game. So, yes, Kentucky's defense was much better than I had anticipated when we talked about last night. The defense was a lot better for Kentucky today than I expected, but still, those 5 open threes, 3 of those go in, this different game. So open shots need to fall in the SEC, and they didn't for Auburn today. So yes, Kentucky's defense was better than we expected it to be, but Auburn didn't take advantage of open shots and open looks and easy opportunities. So that's going to really come back and hurt this team in a game like this. It's hard to not make those and try and get a win against a quality team.
And Andrew jinxed us last night. He gave Dylan a lot of praise on his free throw shooting, which was warranted at the time. Unfortunately, Dylan went 0 for 3 tonight from free. Now granted, would that have made a difference in this game? Inevitably, no. But they did shoot 21 of 30 from the free throw line. So if we get back to, if you say 30 points times 0.8, that puts you at 24 points. So if you're shooting at 80%, you left about 3 points on the table there. They were shooting a lot worse from that. They did clean it up toward the end of the game there.
Yeah.
I believe CBM goes 9 for 9 from 3, and that was a little bit later, so he did help that up. But that was definitely a point that Auburn was struggling with. And then you just can't get in rhythm. I mean, Kentucky kind of got that 10-point lead, and credit to them. They just kept that cushion. Auburn couldn't get in a rhythm. Not a lot of minutes out of Trey Donaldson. Same with Aiden. They were putting Denver Jones playing a little bit of point there. There were some reasons for that Bruce had kind of mentioned in the press conference, but there's some there's definitely some personnel things that they had to do this game that didn't go in other games. I don't know how much of that can really discuss right now on the show, but the biggest loss of the night by far, and obviously we have best wishes to it, would be Jaylen Williams.
I mean, you know, and we'll sit here and talk about what this injury means. But before we do that, you just got to say, this is one of the saddest things. Having an incredible year. Jaylen's a great person, a true Auburn man. And I'm going to be honest, we don't know anything yet. I don't feel good about it. It doesn't sound like Bruce feels good about it.
He mentioned MRI. He'd be getting an MRI tomorrow. So typically that's usually not a good sign. The way Bruce's language sounded in the post-game press conference is just kind of reading between the lines.
Everybody's leaning one way on this.
Yeah, he is already talking it up that Jaylen could be gone for a period of time. I'm not going to say for the rest of the season, few games, few weeks. We don't know. Obviously, that's a devastating blow to Auburn, and we hate that for Jaylen. And obviously, we cross our fingers and wish him nothing but the best and a fast recovery because he loves his team. He loves Auburn. He is and Bruce said this too, just to remind everybody, the winningest player in Auburn history, by a long shot. So you know he wants to be out there with these guys.
Yeah, I mean, and my concern for Jaylen, of course, I mean, if this does end up being season, could this be a career ender? And that's what upsets me. I mean, like, or does he, you know, decide to go overseas, try and make a route to the NBA some way? But I mean, injuries like this at this time, really, in your career, when you're trying to make a name for yourself and work your way into potential, you know, late second round pick, whatever, you know, Jaylen wants to do, go play overseas, whatever. I mean, this hurts that. So I mean, this is one Auburn basketball is in trouble, but you need to be more upset for the human being Jaylen Williams, I think, than the player.
Now, going to the stat sheet, I mean, there's really nobody that I would say jumped off the stat sheet of just saying, wow, thank goodness for them. They really were putting the team on their back here. I mean, there's not a single player who you're really going to circle here and say, I guess you could say, what, CBM? Probably had the best. I mean, had the best night. I mean, Janai always, typically is fairly up there, but neither performance was enough to really swing the momentum in the game. It was just enough to keep it from being a blowout loss. Everybody had a pretty even plus minus. There's not one that necessarily steps out egregiously on the stat sheet. Now, for the Lior haters, Lior had plus minus of 1. So I'm just saying the only player on the team with a positive plus minus was our guy, Lior, with just under 3.
Here's the problem right here. Katie Johnson, 3 for 10. Katie was 3 for 10 from the field in this game. And listen, I think
now a lot of those were some low down dunks, moves under the goal that you could maybe argue, did he get fouled and it was uncalled? So in Katie's defense, a little bit on that.
But and listen, we're not going to be the people that we're going to get upset about this game and start pointing fingers at but KD does one thing that he does that is very frustrating is instead of just saying I'm going to make the layup, he tries to get fouled to get and ones.
Right.
And I think he sometimes is like, hey, just take the 2 points. You got a wide open layup. Don't lean into the guy and try and get that. Just take the 2 points. And I think that bit him a few times tonight, and that led to 3 of 10 for him. But the other thing that frustrated me, Alex, is it seems like every time Auburn had a chance to get a basket to really make this thing interesting, Kentucky went and scored now on the other end.
Yeah, so that is a great point I was just about to bring up here. Kentucky was demolishing Auburn on scoring on transition.
Yes.
They're getting the ball, they get it down there, they get a dunk, they get a layup, just quick, and it just took the wind out of the sails. And one thing that they did too, and I hate to be giving Kentucky the credit that we're giving them, but what happened. We have to call it for what it was. Kentucky did an excellent job of keeping the crowd out of this game.
Yes, they
This had the potential to be one of the most raucous crowds of all time. And Kentucky, there was a brief moment, I want to say maybe around 12-minute mark in the second half. They get it close, and the roof was blowing off this place.
Yeah.
And then what do? They let Kentucky get right back in there.
Turnover.
Give a foul. Turnover.
We had the
3,
ball.
right?
No, I think maybe what I remember is Jaylen. They fed the ball into Jaylen, and the pass never really got to him clean. They came down this way. I don't think it was a 3, but they did get a basket to go from we have the ball, chance to make it a 3 or a 2-point game to they're back up by 7. So that was kind of the way that went.
Yeah, and it's tough too when you just look at the whole deal where they were missing their best player this game. So then you're thinking like there were a lot of advantages that were going to Auburn's way. And I will say one point though, in the post game, Bruce did not seem. Honestly, I've seen Bruce more upset after some wins than this losses, and Bruce just said it straight up. This is still a really good Kentucky team.
Yeah.
They played really well. Now, you're never happy after a loss, but Bruce knows, and he said, like, I still got faith in this team. I know this is a good team. And this is not like football. There is still plenty of time left. Auburn is still in a great position for March. There's still maybe the chances of I just think there's too many factors to win the regular season SEC at this point.
I'd say you're in trouble there.
I think you're having to really count. You don't control your own destiny for the SEC. You're having to count on a lot of chaos for that to be in the conversation. So unfortunately, I think we might have to turn the page on that. But the good news is Auburn still has a chance to get that double bye in the SEC tournament, which I think is still very much in play.
Very important.
And let's be real here. We still hang a banner for an SEC tournament win.
Yeah.
So that's still a championship, and they still got a good chance to do there, and it's about heating up at the right time. And I think this team's got a little bit to figure out with consistency.
Yeah.
Because, and it was asked in the press conference, you beat the brakes off Alabama, you go and lay an egg at Florida, you beat the absolute brakes off South Carolina, and then you have this performance too, on top of that being at home. So you kind of go every other game, and one, that is kind of the nature of basketball, it does happen. But two, to play at championship level basketball and compete at that high level, that is some of the things that you do have to kind of iron out a little bit. And you just got to hope that with the way that the season's going, that they can get that stuff ironed out. And this time of year does make you a little bit nervous to see that. But I'll say one thing before we wrap up this post-game recap show here is guard play. That's a little bit more concerning with the guard play, and Bruce did even mention that too. I thought, and you had even said the matchup down low with the big men with Jaylen and Janai. I don't know how much I love the game plan there. It felt like they could have taken advantage of that. Now, how much of that was Kentucky just absolutely taking that out of, or how much was it not going into? That'd be something you have to really kind of rewatch the game to answer that question.
And now guard play gets so much more important if you are potentially without Jaylen the rest of the year.
Right.
And I don't know if this guard play is going to be good enough. You know, Auburn went into March with Jabari Smith and Walker Kessler with the best front court, probably in college basketball that year. And the guard play, you know, wasn't quite there that year. You know, it wasn't quite there. And guard play wins in March. Auburn loses in the second round to Miami. You know, if Jaylen is out, Trey Donaldson, Denver Jones, Katie Johnson, and Aiden Holloway have to start playing better, and playing better very soon, or this team's going to really struggle to make it to the second weekend.
Yes, I mean, between Aiden, Katie, and Trey, you're 0 for 6 from three-point, and that's just 4 for 22 from 3 is definitely a huge killer right there. And Kentucky was only made 4 threes as well. And Bruce said in the postgame, if you told me they're only going to make 4 threes, I'd say we win. It was 3 for 13, so your percentage is a little bit better there, but 4 for 22 from shooting, which stinks because no matter the consistency, you look what they did against South Carolina, it was just, they couldn't miss. And then now it's just, you feel like they can't make it. So where do you have to get, can you stay on that consistent average without it having to be extremes one way or another? And we will see what they end up doing. But the good news is this team does have a midweek bye. A lot of rest can do them good, not only physical, mental, and hopefully they can get things right for the next game that they've got the following Saturday, a week from today. So that's going to do us all here live from Auburn. We did raise, on a positive note.
Yes, very positive.
$10,000 for Outlive. So for anybody that saw the Feed the Jungle and Beat Cancer event that we were plugging on the show, guys, thank you so much. They were waving that check around during the game, so if you guys did watch it on TV or so on social media, huge thank you to that. And let's be real, but that's bigger than basketball.
That's what matters more than Auburn losing or winning a basketball game.
Yeah, and it was very powerful for the game. The Outlive, they held up a bunch of.
It was really cool to see.
They held up a basically a little flyer, and it was basically writing down somebody's name.
Yeah.
Who had basically had a stint with cancer, and basically who are we doing this for, and they dimmed the lights, and that was a really cool event here. So want to just bigger than basketball moment. Shout out Bruce Pearl for all the awesome thing him and his foundation have done to continue the fight against cancer. So guys, that's going to wrap us all up here from the Auburn Daily Show. Awesome to have Andrew in town. We got 2 episodes live with him, and when you're back in town, love to do it again.
Be in town for the baseball series in a couple weeks.
Hey, be back for baseball. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in. We'll be back at you with our regular programming over the week, and I believe the next episode will probably be Top Button with Charlie 5, so be on the lookout for that. Thank you guys for tuning in.